Right. So in this video, we are going to continue with the jump statements and uh, the jump statements which we have covered in the previous video was for your for loop. Right. Now we will try to see how it works in your uh, while loop. Okay. So we are going to continue with that. Now to do this, we will actually use this time the VS Code in here. Okay. So we are going to use VS Code rather than ideally because it will be more viable to use it will be more viable to use VS Code because uh, if you are using VS Code, so it will be better to do practicals later on, like the big projects. So that is why we are going to use VS Code in this one, and ideally we are going to phase out from this one. So that is one thing in here. So I have the same folder which I was doing, which I was using in the previous videos. It's just that I've changed from ideally to IDE, which is this is VS Code. Okay, so that is um, what we are going to do. Now, the thing we have to see in here is that we have to see how does the jump statements from break and continue will work in your while loop. Okay, so how it will work on your while loop, that we have to see in this one. So what impact does it do when we use the break or the continue jump statements in while loop? That is what we are going to understand in here. Okay, so let's see that. Okay, so now I'm also going to use Git version control systems, which is called the Git VCS. So you see, when you talk about Git VCS, it is the version control system which tracks the development of the software itself, right? So that is what we are going to utilize in here. Okay. So I'm just going to commit all the previous files and I'll just make a note of it. Previous, previous Python, Python practice files, I could say. Previous Python practice files. Right. Now, next, what you have to do is we have to make a new file in this one. So when we are using VS Code, okay, when we are using VS Code, you have to make a new file uh, for making a new program. So in case of ideally, what you used to do was you will just start the script mode and just write whatever you want, and then you save the file, right? But that will be like kind of a very easy way to do those programs, but the problem occurs in here is that when you save that file, it automatically saves into the interpreters folder and not in the normal documents folder or the projects folder. So that is why it doesn't have much control in that when you talk about ideally. Okay, it doesn't have much control in that. So yeah, so what we are going to do is we are going to make a new file in this one. To make a new file, you could make it from two ways, which is one from using the command line of the bash itself. So when we talk about git bash, you can utilize the command line from the bash itself. So touch and whatever the project you are going to do. So we are going with the jump statements itself. So I have already made this one. The jump statements I have already made in this one. This is for the for loop. So we can do one thing is that we can make a new file for that. Okay. And VS Code will ask for the Python extension for highlighting any syntactical errors. It will ask for installation of Python extension. That is useful because when you're making big projects, sometimes you cannot always look into the small details. So you have to automate some things such as syntactical errors. You want to automate it so that it will highlight the syntactical errors. Okay. So that is one thing. Okay. So yes, we are going to work with, let me rename this file. Okay, let me rename this file. And to rename this file, I'll just make it as the jump statements for loop. Okay, we are going to make this, right? We are going to make this, right? And then whatever files you have changed, you also have to like commit those changes to the Git version control system. So Get started. Okay. Now I'm going to commit this one. Uh, name previous jump statement. Okay. Get push origin. Okay. So I'm not going to push this because I have not backed up this repository in any of the online spaces. Right. So I'm not going to back this up. Okay. So now we are going to make a new file. What is the new file? That jump statements. This will be while loop, right? This will be while loop. Okay. So it was taking time to make it. So this touch command is utilized to like make a new files. So it will just make a blank file in this one. Okay. It will just make a blank file in this one, right? Uh, So we have this file. So let's try to work with this one. So while loop. So we are going to what we are going to do is we are going to utilize this existing loop and we are going to modify it to have some break and continue statements. Okay, so we are making a two copies of it and we are going to continue with those things. Okay. So you could also like use Vim editor, which is kind of fancy way of utilizing very lightweight editors. So that is also one way you could utilize it. Okay. So anyways, so let's continue with this one. Okay, right. So we have count. Okay, count. We are assigning a variable to it. Count variable we have assigned, and then what else? We have while. Now in while, when we talk about while, whatever comes in the bracket after the while, this is your conditional. You put the conditional statements in here, right? So the resultant value of that conditional statement will always be either true or false. It will be a Boolean value, right? So that we have to consider in this one. Now, when we talk about when we talk about Boolean values, so we will consider in what ways we are going to. Okay, let's say as long as count is less than let's say 5 less than equal to 5. Okay, as long as count is less than equal to 5, or let's say 6. Okay, let's say 6. As long as count is less than equal to 6, the loop will run. Okay, the loop will run. Now when we talk about this one, uh, okay, the loop will run. Now what it will do while the loop is running, it will just print the count in here. Okay, it will just print the count in here. It will just print the count in here, and then what it will do next. Now the condition in here we have to check is that whether uh, this runs or not first. So before including the jump statements, it is best to it is just best to utilize your test-driven development philosophy regarding this one. So you test out few things in here. The real test-driven development actually has unit tests, but we are going to like first test small concepts of the programs, and then we will build on over that eventually. Okay. So first the while loop we have made it in here, and we will save this one. And then what we are going to do is what we are going to do. We are checking the git status in here to check what files have been committed and what files haven't been committed. So I still have one file which is not committed yet, and you are working on it. Okay. So now to run this program, if it is a Windows service as a Linux, or let's say if it is a Linux based systems, then we can utilize something called uh, Python command. Otherwise, if it is Windows, then we have to use the py command. Okay, so that specific distinction is there within the two operating systems. So Python, and then you have to like put the file name in here. So the file name is your what? This one is the file name. So I'm just going to like copy this one. I'm just going to copy this one, and I'm going to paste it in here. Okay. So of course, now you see that while testing this, we are getting the infinite loop of zeros in here, right? We are getting the infinite loop of zeros in here. So to stop an infinite loop, you could just press Control C from the keyboard, and it will provide a keyboard interrupt for it, right? So in any case, suppose if your program is stuck on an infinite loop, you could press Control C, and it will crash the program, and it will stop the looping. Right. Now, why it is happening in this one is because, you see, why it is happening is because we are setting the condition that the count should be less than or equal to 6, and we are then printing the count. But count is never increasing in the loop, right? So it always stays as 0. That is why there is an infinite loop in here. To adjust this one, to fix a proper terminating loop, we have to increase the value of the count when we are checking the counts value in every iteration, right? So that is what we have to do in this one. Now the thing is, to increase the count, we can do two ways in this one. Okay, we can increase the count in two ways. So count, we could use the addition. We can use the addition assignment operator, and from there we can, from there we can increase the count. Okay, from there we can increase the count. Okay, so now this line will increase the count by 1 from the previous value of the count. So if you want to understand this one, as in like how this works, it is same as count, uh, same as count is equal to count plus 1. So see, this addition assignment means that count is equal to count plus 1. So whatever the previous value of the count is plus 1, and then we assign that total value to the count again. So that is what it is doing right now here. Okay. So, and you also like, use comments such as with pound sign, you utilize comments. So this will not be interpreted by the interpreter of the Python, right? So that is one thing. Right. Okay. Now you check the status. It is still giving you the status of jump statements, while loop, and py. That is not still. It is still not tracked in this one. Okay. It is still not tracked in this one. Now, what else we need to do now? Okay, so we will now test this one. To test this one, you could utilize the previous command by pressing arrow keys, and you will get the history of all the previous command that was used. So I'm using the up arrow keys and getting the values from 1 to 6, right? We are getting values from 0 to 6 in here. So it starts from 0 and gets to 6. Now, if you utilize, suppose if you utilize, suppose if you utilize what? Suppose if you utilize continuous statements, okay. If you utilize continuous statements, so suppose if you want to utilize continuous statements in the loop itself, so we have to put some condition. So to put a condition, we use a conditional statement in here. And again, in the bracket of the conditional statements, what we have is your um, a condition. So it will give you some kind of a Boolean value in return in completion of that in completion of that expression. Okay. So the expression I will put as like if count is equal to. So is equal to means that it is an equality operator. Okay. So this is what? This is equality operator. So count is, if the count is equal to, if the count is equal to, let's say 1. Okay. So then what it will do? Then what it will do? It will continue. Okay. It will continue. It will continue. Right. That is it. But the position of the sequence also matters in this one. So I put this in here. So it doesn't matter if I put this in here. It continues anyways, right? So I have when we are using continue, what we have to understand in here is that when we put this continue in here, and put this continue in here, so it double checks in here. So first it checks that whether the count is less than equal to 6, and the second one it checks that whether the count is equal to 1 or not. If it is equal to 1, then what it will do is that it will continue the loop. So whatever the statements below in here are, it will not, it will not execute those statements, right? It will not execute those statements, right? Now, when you talk about statements, in here the increment operator is also there. So what will happen if you leave this in here? So all the statements below it uh, will actually uh, typically skip. So if these two statements are skipped, what will happen? It will again fall into an infinite loop, right? It will again fall into an infinite loop, right? So if you run this one, if you run this one again, uh, so it receives the one, value. So it has printed the one, and then now it is continuing the loop from here, right? And these two statements are kind of skipped, you could say. So these two statements are skipped and the loop is being continued. So now it is stuck at the infinite loop and nothing is being printed after 0. So it is stuck at the infinite loop in here. So we have to stop this one. Okay. So to stop it, we have to use the control C, which is the keyboard interrupt, right? Now to fix this one, to only skip one, what we have to do is we have to take out this incrementation statement, which is the assignment operator with additional assignment operator with your what? With your another operand, which is 1. Okay, and the previous operand is your count, right? So in here there is assignment addition operator. This is the addition assignment operator. And in this one, what we have to do is the left hand side is the operand, which is the count variable, and the right hand side is the operand, which is the uh, you know uh, the integer operand in this one, right? So now what it will do is that it will skip one itself. So it will skip one. Okay, so let's skip. Okay, so now what it does is it starts from 0. Okay, it starts from 0. Now what it happens are if it starts from 0, okay, it starts from 0, it increments 1, so we are at 1, and then it checks whether if the count is 1 or not, right? The count is 1. Now the continue is there. So if the count is 1, it skips the loop and then it goes back to another loop, right? Then it checks whether it is less than 6 or not. Okay. Then it checks that whether it is less than 6 or not, less than or equal to 6 or not, right? So right. So if it checks whether it is less than equal to 6 or not, right? So once it checks whether it is less than equal to 6 or not, it checks whether then it increases the value of 1. So if we focus on this particular, in this particular program, so if we do the dry run of this one, so in the first iteration, what it happens, it starts from 0. It starts from 0. It checks whether it is less than equal to 6 or not. Then it checks whether then it increments the value, then increments the value by 1. So now it was at 0 in here, and then it was less than equal to 6 in here, and then increases the value by 1. So the previous value was 0. And then what happens is that there is now it checks whether if the count is 1 or not. Obviously now in the first iteration it is 1. So if the first iteration is 1, then it will continue. So if it will continue, then the printing of the count will be skipped. And now in the second iteration, what will happen in here is that it checks whether the count value is less than equal to 6 or not, right? If it checks whether the count value is less than equal to 6 or not, so right now it is obviously 1 right now. So now in this statement in the line number 3, it will increase by 1 because it is the assignment addition assignment operator, and it has a value of 1 on the right hand side operand of this operator, right? So now it will increase to 2 because the previous value was 1. Now it checks whether if the count is equal to 1 or not, right? Now it checks whether the count is equal to 1 or not. Then what happens if you see that it is not your 1, it is right now it is 2. So this conditional continue will not continue, right? And then it will print from count itself. So now we have a starting print from 2 in here. We have a starting printing of 2 in here, and then you have 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, right? So that is how your continue works. Okay, so let me just commit this one. Include continue example in what? In while. Okay, I haven't added the files, obviously. Right. This is done. Okay. Now next, we are going to see how it works in your, how it works in your break statement. So we can do it in two ways. Okay, we can do it in two ways. The first way is the first way is, hold on, let me just move. Okay, so the first way is that we can do the copy of that previous loop function and then change accordingly, or we can combine the both break and continue in this one. So what we are going to do is we are going to combine this. Okay, we are going to combine this rather than making another loop. We are going to combine this one. Okay, we are going to combine this one. So to combine this one, we have what if we have, right? If we have if we have, right? And we are going to set is as count equal to 4, right? So if the count is 4, let's say if the count is 4, then what we are going to do is we are going to break. Okay, we are going to break, and after the break, uh, what we are going to do, we are going to just leave it at that, right? We're just going to leave it at that. Okay, what we can do is we can, if it is still 6, let's go till 5. Okay, let's go till 5. 5 or yes, let's go till 5 or 4. Let's go till 4. Let's go till 4. Okay, we'll go till 4, right? So we are going till 4. Now we are going to save this one, right? So if you see this green line in here and in your VS Code in here, right? If you see the green line in here, that means that these part of the code are not recorded in the Git history. So I'm going to just commit this code, and we are going to record this one in the Git history. Okay, git commit -m. And see, uh, also when you're talking about git commands, when you say check as git -am, am means include all the track files, and m is called m. What does m sits means is that you're going to utilize a short message to write the commit recording of commit g- git history recording of that code changes. Okay, so that is there. Okay, now I'm going to commit this one. Right. So include example of of break statement in while loop. While loop. Okay. So get again. Okay. Obviously, I have not recorded. I've not backed it up in somewhere in the in any Git host. Right. So now we have this. Right. Now we are going to run this. Obviously. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Where is the run command? Okay, in here it is. Right. So we are going to run this one. So we get only 2 and 3. So we get only 2 and 3. So why this happens is because obviously we have understood why it starts from 2, but we then stop at 3 in here, right? We are stopping at 3. Why? Because once it gets to 3, once it gets to 3 and prints 3, the next iteration it is 4. So in 4, so if it is in 3 in this line, in line number 2, then it increases to 4. This condition isn't true right now, which is check whether it is if the count is equal to 1. And then this statement is true because count is now 4. So if the count is now 4, then what happens is that your break statement will execute. So if the break statement executes, then what happens is that at the fourth iteration it will break and it will not print. And once the break statement is utilized in here, then what will happen that the whole loop will stop and it will continue to the next whatever statements you have written outside the loop. Since there is no statements outside the loop, so then you have to basically terminate the program. So the interpreter will now terminate the program itself. If you have some statements in here, so suppose if you have some statements in here, so as like print, and we have like the loop finished looping. We have this, right? We have this, and then we are going to what we are going to do is we are going to check if it is recorded or not, and if it's not recorded, includes lumping statements. Okay, and that is good that the system has stopped me because it will be what? Include some ending statements, right? And this will be okay. Git commit hyphen name include some ending statements. Okay. Now we are going to run this. Running will require what? Yeah, this one. Okay, so it prints 2 and 3, and then it just says that the loop has finished looping. So it doesn't went to 5 or 6 or other places, right? So that is how you will use your continue and break statements in your while loop, right? There was some slip of tongue here in while like telling about the iteration in the dry run iteration of the countings, right? Keep that checked in mind. Yeah, that is all.